Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is a triple threat, and it's scheduled for utter fuckery! Introducing first, from Stanley, England, weighing in at allegedly over 500 pounds, Stephen Caulfield! And on my right, the Lost Dudley, weighing in at God knows fucking what, Dan, the Geek King Adamson! And on my left, he is the alleged future LTW champion, and residing in the 90s, Eric Von Gisby! Hello everybody, welcome to episode 1 of Total Marking Out. I'm Stephen Caulfield, this is Dan, as in my right.
Yes, hello. You caught me taking a moment there to look away because, quite frankly, my laptop's slow as fuck at the moment, and I pressed transition 40 seconds ago. However, yes, welcome to not the first ever episode of Total Marking Out. It is the 10th anniversary special of Total Mark Out, a sometimes uploaded wrestling podcast. It is, as we've always said, we are the most irregular podcast in wrestling history. If anything, this needs more fiber.
Oh, yes. Tons more.
And of course, on the show is your host with the most. It's me. It's me. It's the Cash Brew, the fighting fanboy of Iron Visionary, the master of Marvel, the dictator of DC, the brigadier of Boom, the iconoclast of Image, the patron saint of the socially awkward, the fuck knows what else there is.
The Duke of Dweeb.
The Duke of Dweeb, the Lord of Losers, and of course, ultimately, the Nasty Nerd and the Geek King. And with me always is my brother-in-arms, my tag team partner for life. The aid in English to my Rusev, which is actually quite an apt one.
Yeah. I'll jot that one down.
The Shawn Michaels to my Triple H, to the Scott Hall, to, the medium-sized man, to my big man. To my Kevin Nash, the Albert to my X-Pac, the Grandmaster Sexy to my Scotty Too Hottie. Ultimately, my best friend and my co-host on the show is Steve Jones 313, the pedantic prick, the sometimes uploader, the emperor of editing. He is, of course, Boss Caulfield.
Thank you. And being called a medium-sized man is the sweetest thing you've ever said to me.
I was lying, though. It's okay.
I know you were. And Yes, hello everybody, and this isn't just a retrospective of 10 years of a podcast that sometimes got uploaded or anything like that. It's actually 10 years of one of the greatest friendships I've ever had, if not the greatest. And because me and Geek had some conversations before, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but
More likely.
TMO was what founded our friendship, there had been arguments, there had been collaborations, there had been a third force of evil that needed to be,
We'll get
slewed.
into that. We'll get into that.
But ultimately, this is not so. This is like 10 years of just an awesome friendship, which, I've been enriched by. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to looking back at all this. And one thing I'll say that through everything we've been through, one thing that I'm probably the happiest about is that we didn't go with totally marking out. That I think what we ended up with was a far better title.
Yeah, I'm much happier. It's almost bullet pointed. Total mark out. I like it. Good
Yes.
separation. All right, so yeah, as we say at the beginning, this is a retrospective, a 10-year anniversary, which is something I don't think either one of us thought we'd actually get to when we started that first episode. To the day,
Yeah.
dropping 10 years ago,
Yeah.
which is quite a nice little touch. Accidentally happened because honestly, I didn't know when the first one happened. I just knew it was 10 years. But
Yeah.
things work out in ways when I push for them. The boss, when you obviously we'll get into the origin story a little bit here as well. Starting the podcast, had you thought about a podcast beforehand in the world of wrestling? Had you?
Not in the world of wrestling. I'd already been talking about podcasting with the mystery producer
Yeah,
um, to do the now defunct Shout
right.
podcast,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
going to be basically a debate style show, which I won't go into too much detail because very separate to what we talk about. But yeah, like the interest to do a podcast was there. And I never ever thought about wrestling because my enjoyment of wrestling kind of was spawned off a particular dickhead that was in my life at the time, in and out. And I didn't really have anybody else to share that wrestling passion with. And my younger brother was kind of his favorite wrestler at the time was like Kane and stuff like that, and like so there was some enjoyment there, but there wasn't anybody to really share that passion with.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of touching upon that, origin story, the thing which, if we need to thank anybody for this, it's Mick Foley.
Yes. Yeah, we do. Mick Foley being in Newcastle for his first ever appearance in Newcastle as doing a spoken word stand-up show,
Hmm.
telling stories. And me and that boss had said we talked a couple of times beforehand with our former third member of the show, who we will get into at some point. Um, and we met on buses in a big place like the Metro Centre, things like that, just bumping into each other. And the irony being, every time I saw you, you had some sort of big elaborate wrestling set for your brother.
Yeah.
The Hell in the Cell, the Elimination Chamber. Like, you were almost turning into Shawn Michaels before you realised it, because you were sitting there going, I've got to set this whole thing up, and he's just got to play with a box. Like, you know, but we talked a little bit about it, and but at the Mick Foley show, we were outside for, I want to say, half an hour to an hour, and I was cold and bored. So I did what I do when I'm cold and bored. I entertained people. I did
Yeah.
impressions, I did stories, I did fucking bullshit. Basically, what Total Markout became. So it was like that, and we sat. We had a drink at the time. Boss was drinking. I didn't know he wasn't supposed to be. And yeah, at the bar during when we were let in, and after during the intermission, if you will, we were talking about some of our favorite stuff about wrestling, and one of the things I got is we were talking about cells, and one of our favorite
Yes.
cells, and like we both agreed that Kurt Angle was underrated in the world of selling finishers, for the pedigree and the Stone Cold Stunner.
Yes, absolutely.
And that
It
was the
was
one that got me.
yeah, it was the Kurt Angle goat of selling. In my opinion, because yeah, I remember because I remember saying to you like, all right, question: who do you think what are like some examples for you of like the best sells for finishers? And we got on, and I was desperate to say Kurt Angle the pedigree, and I think you got there first, and
Yes.
I was very enthusiastically like, someone who gets it.
Yeah,
You
and it was
know,
just us on
and
the table, which is weird because we'd gone with a
yeah,
group of people. At least I
yes,
had anyway. But they were in a different section. So when they finally came up to the bar, we were always sitting there
yeah,
having a chat, and they were like, "What the fuck's going on here?"
yeah. And they didn't know that I had taken up drinking and stuff like that,
Yes.
because they'd always known me as like being sober, and at the time I was, up until that point, and then because I hadn't really reached my,
Yeah.
I need to quit drinking phase yet.
Yeah.
So I remember you alluded to before they were really surprised because you were like, oh yeah, we're just having like some Jack Daniels and Coke at the bar. And they're like, whoa, this is Steve we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And it's like, gee, it's as if, somehow chilling with Dan was somehow, easy. It's as if, like having someone that wasn't up his own ass was like just so much easier to kind of like chill around. Um,
Yeah, and then
but
and then
yeah,
you asked the magical words.
yeah. Have
You're
you
a
ever
fuck.
thought about doing a podcast?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And
Yes. Oh, and the next week I get a DM from our former co-host,
uh-huh.
saying, "Yo, Steve's just asked if we want to do a podcast," and I was like,
Mm.
"All right, cool." Does he do stuff like that? It was like, yeah, he does. He mentioned obviously the stuff that's on your Wandering Angel channel, where we
Yes.
originated on Total Marked Out.
Yes.
And you can still find the retroactive stuff over there as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was like, yeah, and I was sitting there going, cool. But the things he showed me weren't like the on the couch or stuff like that. It was literally Dear Steve Jones 313.
Yes.
And it was the stuff where you're walking around a field and answering
Yeah.
questions. And obviously, like, then it started developing to some sort of story on Dear Steve Jones 313, which is a whole
Yes.
different podcast for a whole different day.
Oh God.
But yeah, and I just remember like me going, "That's not what I had in mind." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "I do not want to go walking around a field talking about wrestling." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Well, this is clearly what he does, right?" And I was like, and he's like, "Well, I don't know." I was, "Well, how's it going to work? Like, how's he going to record it now? What we're going to do? Stand in the fucking Stanley Field talking about wrestling?" And he's like, "I don't know. I think his brother holds the camera and like while we're recording that." And I'm like, "Dude, this is not selling me." Like, and like, I was so snitchy. I was just sitting there going, "I don't know if this is for me." And then you were like, "No, just come around the house and we'll record in the house." And I was like, "That sounds much better."
Yeah, that's the selling point.
Yeah,
It's
that
like,
sounds much better. I don't know if you know this. It's January. We're living in the northeast of England. And that was legitimately something I was like, I'm not walking around a fucking field to try and talk
yeah,
about wrestling and be funny. And
yeah,
when we actually got to the show, we had no idea what we were going to do. I'd listened to podcasts and listened to a lot of stuff and that, and I just remember, like, me sitting going, well, like, what are we going to do? And you're like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, we should probably do, like, a recap, and then we should do, like, I don't know, like, some our individual bits, and there should be, like, segments.
Mhm.
And then, of
Yeah.
course, words that will send a shiver down Boss's spine, there should be jingles.
The fucking jingles, man.
And
The
for a
fucking
while,
jingles.
there was jingles. And also, at one point, Boss would get really annoyed at me because at one point he'd say, "Don't say this," and as soon as he said, "Don't say this," me being a big bumbling bear of a man would go, "Oh, I'm going to say that," and Boss would have to beep it.
Yeah.
Boss,
Yeah.
this is why Boss didn't like editing because there was a period of time where I was just a right dick to him to editing, and it was because I wasn't doing it, so I didn't give a shit. And now as someone who edits and quite frankly barely edits, like I understand it. Like even the barely, I mean, some of the stuff I've done recently, obviously, there's a lot more editing to it. But like Total Markout, it's very easy for me to edit because we just sit and do this, and then I just put the beginning and the end on it.
Yeah, because here's the thing: a lot of people be like, "Oh, this will be your time for revenge." True, I am that much of a dick. I am that much of a dick that I want revenge, but I am too much of an editor to know how much of a ball ache it is, and just not wanting to put another person through that, even if it's the person who did it to me. So it's like, no, I will stand by this, you
But
know.
yeah, I mean, so that became that pod. Like I had legitimately thought about doing a podcast for a while, and on wrestling because wrestling is and always will be my number one thing in life when it comes to fandom. I talked to friends about it, but we just didn't understand where to even begin. So when Boss turns around and goes, "Do you want to do a podcast?" And I'm like, "Yes." And like I'm going, I'll finally have somewhere to fucking do what I do anyway, and
Yeah.
to do and to at least give it a try. And I remember there was a question that was brought in back when we had Fan Corner,
Yeah.
of what do you guys want out of this?
Yeah.
And you were like, I just want to talk to some cool people about wrestling. And
Yeah.
sure, he goes like lofty ultimate goal. I'd love to do a panel at RTX.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, and like mine was just, I just want to have fun with my mates. If I get over, I get over. And
Yeah.
like Jizby's, as we've avoided the name, but we have to bring it up. Jizby's was to get over, and that was it. And it wasn't to get the show over.
Yeah.
It was to get over. And I was and obviously we'll get into it in just a moment, but there was some animosity growing in amongst the three of us. The trio was going to split it one way or another.
Oh yeah.
When we first started doing the podcasts and that though, like the first, I mean, the irony is the first 2 weeks it was the three of us, and then that third week, it may even be the second episode. He leaves to go and do the TNA show, so we have to do a special TNA one when he comes back, which is just about his experience at the live shows.
Yeah.
But outside of that, because we're going to delve more into that relationship in a bit. How did you feel going through that first season of TMO? How was it for you? Like, what were you happy with how it was coming out? Was it just the work was a headache?
I was actually very optimistic. I felt like I felt very much like the band manager at that stage, because my wrestling knowledge, and even today I still get some anxieties over it, being the not as knowledgeable one, because you have Jisby, all credit due, has an encyclopedic memory of stats, which can be very useful in certain respects. And then you have this unbridled passion, matched with this extensive library of moments and matches and stuff like that. I would say it was the difference between mathematics and history. Because mathematics, you can remember the dates, you can remember the statistics and stuff like that, but it's a difference between being told this many people died in this war, there were this many battleships or whatever, and then hearing an account from someone that saw it. Wrestling is, in that respect, watching this podcast, recording this podcast with you guys, was very much the same. It was very interesting from both the statistical analytical point of view, but the historian point of view on the other side. It's like I would equate it to somebody talking to someone how they saw Babe Ruth, hit a home run and stuff like that. It's that kind of energy. But there I was, my first ever wrestling moment being "It's me, Austin."
Yes.
And you know, so not having that much knowledge in the business,
And just to
on it,
clarify for the guys at home as well, when we say that your first exposure was "It's me, Austin," it was me all along. You weren't then a dedicated week in week out fan. You didn't start watching it, for lack of a better term, religiously until the invasion.
Yeah, which is really weird because I was into e-ferring a lot earlier.
Yeah.
So So, kind of like the story of me and wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
which has never really been told, which I know TMZ will want to get all up in. But I'm breaking it here first.
Wait. I thought we were waiting for that for our episode with Uncle Conrad.
I, I think Uncle Conrad's going to be more interested in you.
Well, you know.
I don't think he's going to be that interested in a non-beard wearing person like me.
You're
But
just a beard.
well, yes, well, you are the Baron of Beards.
Another nickname.
But yeah, so basically, household internet became a thing in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in about 1996, we got it in our home. And
Wow.
back then,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, so back then, forums weren't really a thing yet. Everything was done via email.
Yeah.
And I had learned of this, and I was very tech
Yeah.
aware. Like my first PC game was a game of Pong that I programmed myself.
Well, yeah, but that was
Um,
1974.
fuck you. Um, it was in the early 1990s. Shut the fuck up. Um, but no, it was because it was an Amstrad that ran on cassette.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I programmed myself. So getting this new fangled computer with dial-up and everything was really interesting. But I had been made aware of something called e-fetting, which was people role-playing as wrestlers and then cutting promos on each other, and then someone would determine who role-played who did the best promos, and then would write up a match to say like, oh, these two did this, and this person wins. And I thought, well, that's
I
cool
mean,
because
it was essentially a wrestling version of D&D. Like
exactly.
it's
That's
very
exactly it. It's a wrestling D. It's essentially a wrestling D&D, but instead of rolling dice, it's you got to cut promos.
yeah.
So I was immediately hooked because I was a writer. Well, as I was an aspiring writer then, and I loved that idea. So and then forums built,
Yes.
and then I became somewhat of an E-Fed kind of like icon, in my small bubble of the universe. Um,
On your
you
forum,
know,
you were the god.
yeah, and it got to the point where I was because I took the character of Steve. Okay, at first I was Rocky the Survivor Stevens, and then I became Steve the Warrior Jones.
Yes.
And then and I
For
would be
those
going to
wondering
these.
why he's called Boss Caulfield, but also Steve Jones 313.
Steve Jones 313. We'll cover that in a moment, but Steve the Warrior Jones, I was role playing in a lot of different e-feds because I was getting asked to join different ones because my role playing style was unique for
Of
that
course, yeah.
world.
Well, yeah, because you had no
So
knowledge of
that
how to actually do a fucking wrestling promo.
Yeah, so the thing is, with a wrestling promo, people did the same shtick over and over again, which was they would do it like, you know, assuming someone was playing The Rock, they're like, The Rock walks to the ring, he grabs the microphone, and he goes, the people want to see The Rock, blah, 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 blah. And I just found that mundane and boring. So what I did is I would do role plays in the first person past tense. So as if I was telling a story which would later be adopted by How I Met Your Mother. Not saying there's a correlation, just saying I may be on money. Um,
By the way,
but
just on that topic, really quickly.
yeah,
R.I.P. to Bob Saget. Like,
yes,
anyway, continue.
absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, so I would do things like, I remember, learning about the match. It was going to be me versus Steck. I remember the trepidation I felt, and I knew I had to get this across. And like, I would really embellish and like go in heavy into the narration to the point where it was like reading a story,
Yeah.
and people were just like, "That is fucking dope."
Yeah, it's
And
what
then
it,
I became,
it's essentially what
yeah,
they call the diaries over on Grey Dog,
yeah,
Grey Dog software forums, which
yeah,
is or the GDS forums, and it's they do diaries, but essentially you're doing it for one person rather than a recap
yes.
of a show,
Exactly.
which is
And
quite
then
cool.
to kind of speed things up from there, I became a match writer and then eventually running my own feds, so I would do my best to make everyone else look good. And so my kind of love of wrestling started in e-fedding more than watching it on TV.
Yeah, and then over time you'd tell me that you would see it at friends' houses. You'd go over, they might have it
Mm.
on, you'd watch a couple of things here or there, and one of the first major things that got you like, this is really cool, was the Vince McMahon reveal.
Yes.
And then after that, you'd see a little bit here or there and there, and then when it came to the invasion, at which point you had access to it every week. You had access
Yes.
to it regularly, and which is really weird because that's when a lot of people said goodbye.
Yeah. So basically, when everyone else was out, they pulled me back in. And yeah, and that really set in stone me being a story guy in wrestling. Like I'm very much a promo guy, a wrestling
Yes.
guy. So what my memory of matches isn't great. My memory of statistics is non-existent. But my memory of a promo, like
Yes.
I'll remember, you know, I remember, listening to things like, "Come home, Rock, come home, because once again we want to smell what the Rock is cooking." In that, as only Vince McMahon can.
Yes. Hey,
I
pal.
remember, yeah, I remember the Roddy Piper in TNA, going against Vince Russo. I won't repeat it because I don't want to trigger bad memories, But I remember,
But
um,
definitely something to have a quick look in your Google.
yeah, exactly. And like just all these promos that were cut by so many great people, like Eddie Guerrero, going up against Brock, and Brock trying to diss him for his drug addiction, and Eddie going, "Hey, maybe so, but listen here, you son of a bitch," and like just really telling him how what he had just done was the biggest mistake of his life, and I became a story guy.
Yeah, and I mean
My
that makes sense
yeah,
from how you started. You
yeah,
we started out with doing a narrative from a person's perspective for an E-Fed. You're gonna be naturally drawn to the stories of professional wrestling.
yeah,
That being said, though, I will mention this now. You say you're a story guy.
yes.
What people will be surprised by that though is some of
Hmm.
your favorite matches and wrestlers are technical masterpieces. You love the
Yes.
actual intricacies of a professional wrestling match, the technicalities, the ability to twist someone into a knot and leave them there. Although
Yeah.
you do also wish that I would stop sending your brother ideas. Um,
It's a good thing that I don't wrestle with him anymore. Yeah, and it was because I like to wrestle with my friends,
yeah,
and
you had a
every
little stint as
other.
a backyarder, didn't you?
I was a backyarder. Yes, I was a backyard wrestler. We didn't do the fucking bullshit of the pipes and all stuff. That was long after I
Yeah,
ever got
yeah,
into backyarding. But I was I was having a bit of a weird relationship with pain at the time.
yeah.
Um, some might call it psychotic. I would call it trying to establish boundaries with pain and how I disrespected it all the time.
I called it stupid.
Yes, but everybody else was the strongest or the fastest or the most whatever. But what I had on my side was the ability to just pick at a part of the body, and and obviously again, like everything else in wrestling, we had predetermined finishes. It was
Yeah,
more just like, this is who's going over, go have fun.
yeah.
But what I would like to do, just to be a bit of a dick, is I would like to try and isolate a body part and just work at it. So I developed the Caulfield cross and stuff like that, which didn't make sense because I was still wrestling against Steve Jones, but what the fuck ever. But like one of the things that they really hated is because a lot of the time you wouldn't wear shoes
Yeah,
when you're
yeah, of course,
wrestling
yeah.
because whatever. So I just like to like grab a toe and focus on that, and like just like,
Pete Dunne would be so proud.
oh, they would have hated. Like I used to just grab ears, noses, like just a particular muscle in the back. Whatever I could get my hands on, I would just focus on that for the entire match. Even if I knew they were going over, I'd make them work for it.
Sounds like
But
Raven Goldberg.
yeah, I just loved that. But I never got to be the villain. Like I was always the good guy, because
I mean, look at you. You got a baby face.
well, I thought you were going to say like the actual reason.
Got the underdog.
That is really, it's really hard.
The little
Yeah,
tiny underdog.
yeah,
The
it's really hard.
wee little Steve
It's
Jobs.
really hard to be the villain when you're my height. You know,
Wee.
and bearing in mind, I'm 5'5" now.
What they used to call you? Steve Large? Steve Big? Was it?
It was Stevie.
Oh,
It was Stevie. Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So I would just be like, all right, I'll be the good guy, but I haven't taught you. I even, had a 2 week like wrestling thing with I think he was called like SA Loco or something like that.
Yeah.
He didn't like it when I pointed out that technically his name was feminine when it should have been Loco, but that was the pathetic prick in me.
Could
Which
have dropped
would
out in a way, right?
look, I'm trying these days.
You are.
But yeah, that is where my love of the technical side of things came along. And I remember my I think it was watching people like William Regal and Kurt Angle, like, because those two are ones I have. Like, Mick Foley is the first name I think of when I think of wrestling, because Mick Foley is the ultimate story guy and win by any means necessary. Because, again, he's not the strongest, he's not the fastest, but he can be the most sadistic. He can be the most, um, throw, caution to the wind kind of characters.
Yeah, we can be the most say
But
though.
yeah, but if you ask me who is the best in ring, and many years ago I would have said Shawn Michaels because I was
Still is.
besotted
Still
with Shawn
is.
Michaels.
Sean is the
No,
greatest in-ring performer of all time.
no, I disagree. I would say Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle's a great
I,
technician. Kurt Angle's excelled, but to me,
I,
I've been lucky enough to see both of them in person on
yeah,
a live show, and to me, Shawn Michaels is just in a class of his own. And I
that's
love Kurt Angle, I do.
yeah.
I've forgiven him for 2006. But yeah, I do.
That was bullshit. Yes.
But yeah, to me, yeah, Shawn Michaels is the greatest of all time when it comes to in-ring performers. Second to Nate. Well, Nature's second, sorry. Although Nate keeps making his mouth fucking go, he's going to come off the list for other reasons.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
that makes sense. Kurt Angle, William Regal, and technical wrestling, it goes hand in hand. Although both of them could,
yeah,
if necessary, just get down and fight you.
yeah. But that's how I got into it all. You had a very different story.
Yeah, I was 2 years old
Hmm.
in the early 90s, so our boss was programming his computers and shit. I was a bear.
Yeah, yeah. He
And
had just had it. He just had his fifth beer.
only a couple of years off that, actually. Um,
Yeah.
and I was at family's house, and a great uncle told me it came on ITV, and a great uncle told me to sit down and watch the Big Ben fight. And I did, and I never stopped, ever.
Yeah.
What was hilarious about
I,
that
I
is
can't believe they're still having that match as we record this.
what's
They're
hilarious.
real fighters.
It wasn't that, to be fair. It wouldn't have been that bad because it was a Superstars taping, and it was the Undertaker versus a jobber. So
That's one hell of a jobber then. Surviving this long.
hey, it's every week they have to go back and get that match. He's gonna get that win eventually.
I tell you,
But
this time.
and yeah, and ever since then I was hooked. But I was hooked at everything, like promos,
Yeah.
matches, characters. Remember when I started to grow up, though, I would say grow up. As I was a kid, I was getting into comics, and I was getting into superheroes and Batman, Superman, the X-Men. And then I could flip it over and watch real superheroes fight each other, or put a tape on and watch the 1992 Royal Rumble, which two particular matches were just rewound and rewound over and over again. And to the point where eventually I think the tape just ran out. I genuinely think I put a hole in the tape at one point because I just watched those matches over again. It was the actual Royal Rumble itself, and it was LOD versus the Natural Disasters. And that was because LOD were my favourite tag team of all time, still are. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it was. I watched it and I was hooked, and the more I was getting into other things, cartoons, video games, comics, the more I was realizing that this all happens in wrestling as well. Sometimes the stories aren't as great, but sometimes the comic book stories aren't great. You know, like, so it was, you know, and people like The Undertaker looked to me like a comic book character come to life, which is probably why he became my goat, just my be-all and end-all when it came to the world of wrestling. Even when he was a heel, I still liked him. I booed him out of respect, but I still liked him.
It's like he'd be upset if I didn't boo him.
Yeah. He's doing a good job, so I'll boo him, but he's my boy.
It's like chanting "You suck" to Kurt Angle.
Exactly.
So we know he doesn't, but you know, you got to respect the man.
Yeah, so I mean that became a thing, and over the years, you know, I would use the loophole that most people did when they were wrestling with their friends. Please don't try it at home. Okay, I'll do it at school.
Yeah.
Or I'll do it at the park. Like, so we'd do that, and we'd wrestle, and I got in trouble all the time as a kid because I'd do things I swore in wrestling. I famously had a group of friends that basically were like 9-year-old versions of DX, which isn't that much mature than DX, to be fair.
No.
Like in the 90s, and we all, you know, crotch chopped and did the X chop to like the dinner ladies and stuff like that, where they try to get us to do stuff. You know, we did that. We had, you know, NWO. You know, I was, for some reason, my hands just work better. Like when they do it too sweet, or I can do the Vader, and I can do like my hand permanently looks like Mankind's hand. Like I'm trying to get the camera here, and that's how it just rests. Like I don't actually do it on purpose. You know, the Iron Claw and all that. You know, so yeah, it was one of those things. And then as you get older and older, you know, people drop out of it, friends drop out of it, and I just never did. And you know, there was other things from that draw me in that didn't draw me in as a kid. You know, when I was a kid, nothing was more boring than a 20-minute technical match. Because I wanted to see action, I wanted to see things happen. I didn't want to see, you know, Greg the Hammer Valentine warming up, and that's warming up. Oh, we're just 20 minutes into this, are we? Jesus Christ! Like, you know, what I wanted to see was like LOD throwing around someone, or like seeing like, you know, The Undertaker chokeslam, Tombstone go home, like that sort of thing, you know. And then, you know, you get to become older and you appreciate the nuances of wrestling. You appreciate the nuances of technical aspect of it, and like watching the idea, you know, watching an Arn Anderson or Gene Anderson or Ollie Anderson or any of the Andersons traditionally take down that arm and just work on an arm, and you're like, oh, game's over now, we've got the arm, game's over. Like, and watching that and appreciating it is where like things come through. But then just from years of like watching it and pretending to be superstars, I had this knack of doing impressions of them. And it was something I would do usually when I was bored, just to make people laugh, because couldn't be asked to do something myself. You know, the Merlin wheel does the old canal, and he did this, and he'd order something for you. Hey, you pumpkin head, you're gonna get this. Stardust himself, we're gonna do this. I'll tell you right now, my boy Cody gonna be a world champion. He's gonna make his own company, but he's gonna be a world champion. My boy Dustin's a face paint wearing freak, but you know, I don't talk about that. You know, that's that sort of thing. Or like, you know, the Austin one, you didn't do much of Austin. Everyone can do an Austin impression, but the majority of them do it the same way as me and you do our Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
It's just one word. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And Austin's just Austin's just what? Like
just
what? Like that's what you do. Like you know, things came later on. You know, my Macho Man's always been there. You know, like always. You know, it helped because I could talk real low from an early age. You know? First name Macho, last name Man. Look at the boots. That's where it is. Elizabeth.
It always made me laugh when people were like, "Oh, I can do a Hogan impression." It's like, you and anyone that has a voice box. Let me tell you something, brother. It's like, that is it. That is Hogan. Anyone could do Hogan. You know, a 5-year-old, you know, child could do Hulk Hogan. You know, it's like anyone could do a Hulk Hogan voice. But a Macho Man Randy Savage voice.
Just to clarify, even a 5-year-old
the voice,
can do Hulk Hogan's voice.
Voice, yes.
He's the type to sue. Let's not let him.
Oh God, I know.
But yeah, I mean, the Macho Man was the one. You know, I didn't do a Warrior, but I could do I could end a Warrior promo.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I used to be able to do the Ultimate Warrior. I used to be, and I just never really wanted to, because it's like, look at the rocket ship with the rocket fuel, and then when you were sent to the stars, you will be unbreakable.
And we apologize for your ears being blown out if you're wearing headphones.
Could not give the faint a shit.
But here's the thing. Here's the one. I mean, if you really want to see Boss in pain, I mean, like in actual pain, we have he's got a bicycle. I'll try and remember to tag it at the top there. But he's got a bicycle of the main event, 1990, and in it is just basically a build up to WrestleMania 6, which means it's just Hogan and Warrior, and Boss could not have cared anything. But there's a Warrior promo that seems to just go on and on and on. It's like a 4-minute promo, but it feels like it's 20 minutes long. And Boss you can see.
Is
Boss
that the one?
apart.
Is that the one where the two pilots make the ultimate sacrifice?
I think so.
Oh God!
It's the one after the match where like Hogan's helped him after he was getting a beat down, and they did a Hogan promo. Hogan got his done quite nicely and succinctly. Warrior did what Warrior does best, and talked in riddles for like 40 minutes. And you could just see you just go, I don't care, like. But yeah, that's check that out if you want to see it. But yeah, like so. That was something else that came to me was just the impressions and things like that, and like wrestling always became a thing, that's how I identified things. But then when it came to actual fandom, I never lost it. So I didn't when people were like, "Oh yeah, I used to watch that." I was like, "What do you used to? Like, why don't you watch it now?" "Oh, I just grew out of it." What? Shut up.
Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about growing out of it?
But yeah, I mean, to me, it's no different to like watching football. Like it's the same as the reason I watch football. I watch the NFL. It's something I always have done, really.
Yeah. And for me, it's like if you bitch at somebody for watching wrestling, you're no longer allowed to watch any Terminator movies. No Alien. No, because you grew out of fiction. It's like fuck you.
Yeah. So that's.
It's like, yeah. It's like, oh my God, you hate wrestling because it's fake, but you watch boxing. Okay.
So, Boss, you mentioned there before we got into a tangent of our origins, of our personal origins. Because, as we've always said, tangents happen on this show.
True. And let's face it, you are a comic book geek, so I think you would appreciate a good origin story.
I do, and I always appreciate a good one shot. But yeah, you said that you felt optimistic about the show and things like that. Do you have any trepidation at all? Do you have any, other than your own personal, you mentioned as well, you were a bit worried about your own personal knowledge and things like that. Was there anything that you were worried about?
Yes. I was worried about how it was going to impact on my kind of self more than anything else, because I knew that I was going to be relied upon at the time for the editing and stuff like that, because it wasn't really something you had dipped your toes in yet. Obviously you've become quite proficient at it as time's gone by.
Okay.
And I knew Jisby wasn't, not because he's a dick or anything, that's entirely separate to that. I just knew that he wasn't going to be involved in the actual ending side. And I think my first worry was when I was trying to explain the importance, because you alluded to it before, of you can't say certain things, because I'd done this thing already. I had done it with DSC Johnson 13 and other things. I had dealt with the legal side of things. Because even in its infancy, fucking YouTube and back then Blip, when it was a thing, had were already doing the legal stuff. So I was very, very conscious about those things, and it was like, if I can't get these two to understand this, I don't know how long I could do this for.
That's true, and one of the things that was funny was though that the first, I mean, the only time I really remember us getting a warning was for Shout.
It was, and it was because the mystery producer had made a very joking, and clearly not real threat to, make a bunch of believers in the Eiffel Tower swallow glass, which was so ludicrous that Blip said I needed to take it down. So I said, well, in which case we'll leave Blip, which is the only time like I couldn't believe it, because we weren't pulling in huge numbers or anything, but someone from Blip legitimately emailed me to say this is unacceptable, and they actually said the very thing that we were in trouble for. Now, on the one hand, I was kind of excited because I was like, whoa, I'm actually getting a personalized response telling me why my content's wrong. It's not like an automated, message. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
they
It was
really
a very,
mastered.
and it was a very outrageous claim they made as well, which
They,
we won't get into now
yeah,
because who knows what could happen from
yeah,
repercussions.
but
But they made a
yeah,
very outrageous claim, and then the one that I remember as well from that same conversation was my use of a word.
yes, yes,
I couldn't.
you,
They said that me, a Geordie, couldn't say the word cunt
yeah, which makes no sense.
because
Like,
I can. I just did.
yeah, you did it very well, might I
Thank
add.
you, thank you.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it,
it was the weirdest thing. Blip was such a weird
it,
experience in general.
there's a reason it died.
Yeah,
It died the death. But no, but it was, and I think part of the reason I was like nervous about it is because um Jisby, I never really worked out how to communicate with him. Well, he was basically just because you guys won't know about this. Geek will understand what I mean. Whenever I was dealing with Jisby, Jeff was there.
yes,
And because when I first started this new college with that Jizz was there, so they just kind of pulled me into their group. They saw
yeah.
I was alone and went, "You're with us now."
The same happened to me. Me and my
Yeah.
bits. They just pulled us in.
Yeah. So, so I was like, I still hadn't quite worked out. I was on him, and that's for you. I mean, fucking, it's like telling the bear, "Don't eat me fish." All right, and the bear's just going, "I didn't realize I'm a fucking bear, right?" And you're telling me what to do. You're either really, really, really dumb or really brave, possibly both. You know. So, but
Yeah, it
I
was a bit like as you say there. It was almost like a red flag to a bull. Like
yeah,
it was don't do this. You all know I'm going to do that, right? Like
yeah,
it's just instinct. Like,
exactly. Yeah, but yeah. So I think it was just more the like, okay, and worried about can I be the guy because I was like we joke now that I am the boss in ironically.
it's very ironic these
Um,
days, to be fair.
Yeah, because I'm not. But back then, it was a very technical. Yeah, I would say if I was like basically supervisor doesn't have the same ring as boss. It doesn't roll off the tongue quite well
Well,
as a nickname,
I always viewed you as the host.
which was weird because I always viewed myself as basically the producer, like this almost like it's like I'm not Robin Williams in this situation. I'm the guy on the other side of this glass, just making sure everyone can hear Robin Williams.
Because for me, I always viewed you as the host, and especially in those first few episodes, because you were the guy that would move us along, as you say, produce basically, but on air. But you also
Yeah.
you were the guy that kept us on track, and ironically later on in the show, you kept us on track, and you were often the most ranty person on it.
Very.
And yeah, and like so, I always viewed you as like, well, I can go on, and Jisby can go on, and then at some point, Steve's just going to tell us we're going to move on now. We're going to like this is the next. We needed to move on and we need to keep up because at the time we had a very strict time that we were going to do it for. You know,
Yes.
we had things like and we tried to keep to it as much as we could because obviously if we did it was easier for you and everything else. So. But like, so that's how I viewed it, and then eventually, it was you know, you're the editor, and I remember one of the first times I called you boss was because you brought us into your place, but like, and we
Yes.
thought, oh, we're just gonna have a hang because we weren't recording, and you
Yeah.
went, right, lads, I need to talk about the show. And we're like, what? And you did a
Yeah.
fucking business meeting about the show, like a production meeting. And we were sitting there going, what? Like,
Yeah.
and you were talking, you had Excel sheets and you had pie charts and and I'm like, are we getting a PowerPoint here? What the hell's going on here? And like, Jisby's just sitting there drinking whatever he had in his hand. And he's like, I don't know. And like, I'm
Yeah.
going, I just came to do a podcast. I didn't come to fucking like find out if we do this, we could push this far, we could do this. And also, if we kept it between this times what? Like,
Yeah.
and at the time, your brother obviously had been hanging around with us. We adopted him as people have seen in the early the shoots there of the opening cuts of. He was the show mascot. He was our,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, hornswoggle. He was our funk. He was mini
Yeah.
funk, you know, because I was big
Mini
white.
funk.
You know, I was the living and breathing of Funkadactyl himself. Before I found out he was a knobhead, and
Yeah.
like so that's what we did, and But at the time, I was like, all right, boss, calm down. And like, it stuck, and it became ironic over the years. And I mean, for me,
Yeah.
my thoughts going into it were, this could be a lot of fun, but I have no idea what we're gonna do. Like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what this is gonna involve. And then the trepidations were literally, I don't know what's going to do, and will I be like yeah, I can entertain a couple of people, but will anybody actually give a shit about what I do and what I'm saying, and me trying to be funny? Because there's often, it's hard to be funny on purpose, but you can do it
Yes.
in an ad lib situation. It's a lot easier. So yeah, that was basically it for me. Now we have discussed it a little bit, just in the origins of everything that. But let's talk about it. It's the elephant in the room.
The fact that I can't grow a beard. I know,
well,
I tried.
I mean,
the goatee is the best I can do.
I mean, it's hilarious to me because you mentioned that as you're sitting side on to the camera, like, so you're just showing it off. And like, but yeah, that's Eric Van Jesme.
Eric Van Jesme, the D is silent.
Yes.
I wish he was.
Well, that kind of explains a lot of it already. But when we were working with him, what was the benefit for you? As you mentioned before, statistic-wise, obviously.
So again, it was the linking figure between me and you, because I knew Jesme well, I didn't know you well, and I was still trying to get used to you and how you spoke and how you acted and stuff like that, and
which can be a bit off-putting and harsh at first.
Yeah, like Jesme was a bit of an anchor at that point, and that's not a joke. But he was an anchor at the time, and also just the ability to recall certain stuff, and to an extent, his competitiveness was helpful as well. Like, especially when I would do like table quizzes and stuff like that, which I like to do. I'm a quiz guy. I love quizzes.
Same, we were big Sparkle fans.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that I got to do like a miniature quiz show with you guys, it was just like, yeah, fuck yeah.
And you tripped us up a couple of times as well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 2 occasions where it was because I was wrong, and I awarded bonus points.
Yes.
But other than that, yes, it was it was always a nice feeling when I'm able to stump you guys, or at least make you think.
Yeah.
So there was a benefit there. Just having that, and just ultimately, and yeah, you could argue that anyone could have served this particular role, but he was the one that served it. Having a third person created an interesting dynamic.
Of course it did, yeah.
It would later become a detriment, but for the like in the beginning, it was a helpful thing, and you could argue that sometimes the arguments were entertaining. It quickly stopped being that way, but there were times where it was entertaining to it. But it's also because sometimes it has been said that I'm at my funniest when I'm just at a loss, angry and ranting.
Yeah, when you are livid, you are hilarious.
Yeah, and then I would say really reach it. And I remember Jesme had come on with his lass at the time.
We will get to that.
Okay, but when we get into that was his fault.
Yes.
I will take full onus and say that was his fault.
Yes. Now,
it's a Boris Johnson approach there.
But nice timed. So yes, for me it was a comfort thing. I knew Jesme like the back of my hand. He was my best mate at the time, and it was very much a thing that I immediately felt comfortable because I was just doing what I usually do, talk wrestling with him. And there was just another guy there who also had some cool ideas. But yeah, and then there was a thing of like, well, with him being there, I can, I don't have to be on all the time. I don't have to be like doing this bit or that bit or anything like that. So yeah, it was mainly a comfort thing for me. But let's delve into it a little bit. We did a shoot.
We did.
We did a shoot. I don't regret the shoot. Don't give a fuck.
No.
I'd said a lot of truths on that. I said maybe some exaggerations. Still, don't give a fuck. But let's just do this, boss.
Yes.
When did you know we were going to be a tag team?
So it's important to know the reason why, because it's all well and good, like saying I was this, that, and t'other. Without getting into that, the issues were starting because he would. It started with him getting incredibly late to recordings and then not turning up at all, and also with him not listening. Like, so for example, it got to a point where Geek would take me aside and be like, how serious is it that I don't say this and other thing? And I said, look, in all honesty, there are some things which are, which admittedly are serious. It's just I have to edit them and it's annoying. But there are some things you just can't say.
Yeah.
And he was really good about it. And there was one episode he went almost entire episode without saying something particular, and then he said it, and it was a genuine mistake. But I was just like, you set me up, and he was genuinely no. I was just whatever. Jisby just never cared about it. Jisby, and one of the biggest problems that came up, and one of the first conversations that really sparked that this was probably going to be a tag team situation, was when we both found out why the first episode did so well.
Yes. So for those who aren't aware, I don't think we've actually made it public.
No.
The first episode
yeah.
has quite, a few hundred views. I think it's 417 or something like that. The number kind of sticks with you quite closely. And we were like, wow, that's a really good, and then we didn't understand why the week after our second episode got 50 views. And the episode after that got 27, and then the week after that was up to 40, and we're like, well, we had 400 odd views. And then we found out that Jisby had been spamming the viewing. He had been starting it, going to the end, and starting it. And he got to the point where YouTube stopped new views being counted.
Yeah.
So we still don't know how many people actually watched the show, because we can't remember at what point they stopped it.
Yeah. So I can tell you now, because again, it was kind of like my job to understand the analytical side of things.
You looked into analytics, you looked into the back side of things, everything else,
So back then, YouTube stopped counting at 301.
Right.
Once they hit 301, it stopped counting temporarily because of how many views is getting in such a short time frame. So you would see at the time people like even Markiplier and stuff like that would have 301 plus views, which is like, it's Markiplier, of course he's getting more and whatever. But it was the done thing. It was the first time up to that point that I'd ever had a video hit that mark. So because I've got the channel because back then we uploaded on a channel that I ran called The Wandering Angel Productions.
The link for the retroactive playlist will be in the back at the end of the video.
Yeah. Yeah, now I won't go into the channel name and stuff like that unless I'm asked about it at a future date. But bottom line is that was what the channel was called. And up to that point, the highest video I ever had was an interview series I did called On the Sofa, when I would interview artists and stuff like that. And it was the first, so it was like the second ever video I did on it. Because before that it had just been text based. I then did one with an ex of mine, and then I did another one with another artist. So to suddenly get that 301 plus, it was like, how? Like, I didn't doubt, I was trying to think, okay, wrestling is one hell of a topic. It has a lot of pull. I used the right metas and stuff like that. Okay, maybe that's it. But we literally didn't have the same kind of push.
Nothing followed,
Yeah, because here's the thing, you gotta remember, one, all the people that were following me weren't exactly huge.
No.
And this was in 2012, so Twitter, as good as it is, it wasn't
really a thing at the time.
I mean, because we had our Twitter tags and stuff like that, but it wasn't the marketing machine.
Yeah, I mean, hence why the original show was called #Total Markout.
Yeah. So I remember coming to you and saying this doesn't make sense, and you were the one that found out.
Yeah, I asked him.
Yeah, and I was angry, and you were also angry.
And he didn't see the problem with
Especially,
it.
yeah, because I basically said, you know, his fucking problem is that he just wants to get over and he doesn't care fucking how.
Yeah.
Whereas you and I want to produce a fun show.
Yeah.
And I think it was that moment when we both agreed that, you know, because it was no longer about us as a show. It was actually framing it as you and me,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what it was like, okay. And you would try talking to Jisme, I had tried talking to Jisme, and then we had tried talking to Jisme.
And then there
And
was
so I think that's
and then the questions came in from fans. You know, why is there so much why is there so much arguments? Why does this Jisby seem to put Geek down all the time? And
yes.
you didn't even go into a good portion of the ones that you received. Like the complaints
Yes.
you
So
got were you didn't
yeah.
even mention on air.
So back then we had Fan Corner where people would write to us through Tumblr.
Or email.
And yeah, and I did manage the Yahoo, that was kind of Jisby's
Yeah,
territory.
yeah,
But I Tumblr at the time. Eventually Geek took it over.
yeah,
But I managed the Tumblr at the time because back then you couldn't assign other people to
yeah,
have a link, whatever. And we would get a lot of questions about why does, you know, Jisme bully Geek and stuff like that, because that's what was happening. You know, it was always like Geek was kind of being expected to be quiet and, you know your role kind of thing. Again, the back then the Triple H to the Shawn Michaels kind of
it
shtick.
was the Diesel to the show.
Oh yes, but I didn't censor them. So I censored them, and I would say, Geek, yo, we've been asked about this kind of a
Hiya,
thing,
boys.
you know. Yeah.
Sorry, 1 minute, lads. I've got
Oh,
dogs
we got the puppers.
who are just not gonna
Yeah.
die.
Well, but yeah, but we did get questions like, "Hey, how come Steve is like part of this show? Like, I get he's that he does the technical stuff, but why does he have like an on-air role when he doesn't really know much about wrestling?"
Yeah,
And I read those questions through because
I did that with
I
you
was
half the time.
yeah, you know, because it was like, okay, you know, fine, whatever. I was looking out for you guys, and it was like, and I agreed with the people. I absolutely 100% agreed. I was like, I shouldn't be on air. You know, I don't agree with them now,
Yeah,
but back then I was 100% in agreement with them. Like, yeah, I shouldn't be on air because I was insecure. You know, so of course I agreed. But it got to the point where, you know, in the end, we had to address them. And then when I revealed to Geek, yo, I'm really getting all these questions about this, just so you know, I've been hiding them. You went, we need to address this.
yeah,
And I went, okay, we can address it. But yeah, like, the problem with, and again, so, like, there'll be people who say that you shouldn't talk about someone if they're not there to defend themselves. Well, you know, he decided to walk away, so that's his defense.
yeah,
As far as I'm concerned, the ultimate problem I had, I could go to Geek and say, Geek, we have a problem, and we'll talk about it, and we'll come to a mutual decision. Sometimes we'll be in complete agreement. Sometimes we have to lean more towards where Geek wants to do it. Sometimes we lean towards the way I want to do it.
yeah,
That's just the nature of compromise. Sometimes you find something brilliant, and a lot of the time it leans to one side more than the other. That's life. But you couldn't have that conversation with JB because it was either all in or all out.
yes,
And it was frustrating. And I think there was just like the lighter episode that
yeah. There was a moment in an episode where
yeah
Boss was mid conversation and there was an argument, and because just wait not, he
we're
just
not
wait not, and he just argued, and it was very much a case of we didn't believe that he was really for this. He was all against it, whichever way he was going. He just was arguing for the sake of arguing. And
Yeah.
Boss ended up throwing a lighter against his wall, and I just fucking jumped. So I go, what the fuck just happened? And yeah, that was one of those key moments.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird things is that like it happened, and
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, I've got dogs that have suddenly been appeared, and they're not, and there's no one else apparently to look after them. So they're just doing what they fucking want to do. So I apologise for the distraction. Also for any noise you hear, and me having to go and slap something. And it won't be the dogs; it'll just be fucking a loud noise to stop them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was, and as you mentioned it before, like there was that. That was the first sort of incident. And when we confronted him on why do you always have to make an argument out of things, it was because the people like they like arguments. It makes it fun, and I was like, it doesn't. And that was when you mentioned it for the first time to him. I've got 49 emails in my inbox right now asking why are you so argumentative.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to use the word triggered, although it's certainly an apt term to use. But the very fact that it was real that he was doing it deliberately pissed me off.
He was doing it for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, like 'cause here's the thing. It's one thing when it's like between friends, like you and me. Like sometimes you'll say, yeah, you'll like. Ultimately, I'm insecure about my height, for example, and you make jokes because you know that you're the kind of person like Paul Heyman. You'll push and push, and when the person bites, you go, that's where the limit is.
Yeah.
You know,
Can't find the
and
line if you
so
don't know whereabouts to
yeah,
look.
because that's the thing. Like for example, you'll make jokes about my height. You've never joked about my weight.
No.
You know that is a no-go area, and like whatever. If at the time that was a big thing for me, the fact that I now know that he would have, well, then at that moment, I knew that if I had had any kind of thing revealed that he could get me on, just to piss me off, to make, because in his head, it's controversy creates cash kind of a
Yes.
system.
It's the easy
And
it was the Bischoff way.
yeah, and that just like, it hurt
Yeah.
because it's like, I would never do that to anybody. Like Geek and I have never done that to each other to make an interesting episode. Jokes are one thing,
Yeah.
but just flat out bullying, it's like, well, hang on a second. Like, and again, we didn't like. It wasn't like public knowledge at the time. I say it as if we're like TMZ or something. But we actually have integrity. But the fact, although in fairness, they had Becky Lynch in an episode, so they've beat us there.
Working on it. I'm working on it.
But anyhow, but anyhow, yeah, like it was just this thing of like, I had an anger issue, and I was something I take medication for now, and it does me the world of good. But so having an anger issue, it was really hard to maintain my anger, and I did really well around geek and stuff like that. But to then have someone legitimately push, yeah, because they knew I would snap. It was just that was just a betrayal.
Yeah, and here's the thing. For me, it was very much a case of I knew it was going to be a two-man and everything else when I started to realize that it was more fun when he wasn't there, and
Yes.
was starting to hope maybe he won't show up this week. And I was up, but also getting pissed off at the fact that he wasn't showing up, and he wasn't giving us any reason, and he just, it wasn't a priority for him, and it became a priority for me and you.
Yes.
And then, and I can say this clearly, we had a two-part episode, the only two-part episode we've ever done as Total Markout. The only guest we've ever had on Total Markout was, and we don't know the situation now, but we've let JSP bring on Cena's true fan, and it was his girlfriend. As far as we know, the girlfriend at the time, don't know now, as we say. We have, since JSP left the show, we've had no contact with him. And this is simply in infamy as the bus ride from hell.
Yeah. So I got so angry in that episode. Bearing in mind, again, we're talking about um, 2 episodes part, like, because and we cause I don't know if that was the 2.5
No,
episode,
no, it was
right?
well after that.
Yeah,
It was
but
like
whatever.
it was after Mania because that's when they got in a relationship, and it would have been like
Oh
I
yes,
think it was post SummerSlam or pre SummerSlam.
yeah. So whichever one it was,
Yeah,
I had just gotten. Oh god, yeah, it was episode 21 and episode 20. Yeah,
yeah.
episodes
Boss, I'm gonna let you
21
explain this.
part 1.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
at this point go and
yeah,
sort some dogs out.
no problem. So, yeah, so this was 9 years ago today. It was episode 21. There was a part 1 and a part 2. Episode, let's say, part 1 of that episode was an hour and 34 minutes, 22 seconds. Part 2 was an hour and 20 minutes, 15 hours, so an hour and 21 minutes. So collectively, almost 3 hours. And we did this in one sitting. Now, I was tested so much. My limits were sincerely being pushed. And I remember just getting more and more agitated as the shows go because it wasn't a good show.
No,
I wasn't having fun. I don't think Geek was having
I
fun.
couldn't
None of
stand it.
us would, and I was just losing my mind. And eventually, I exploded and came up with this improv story of how Chris Benoit was driving a bus in hell, ferrying people around in hell. I don't even like, and I refuse to listen back because I've always wondered what did I actually say, what was the actual context, but I can't go back and listen to it because I've tried. I
No,
get angry listening,
can't do
but
it.
it's like, yeah, on the one hand, it was an incredibly funny, dark piece of dark
Oh,
humor material.
I've tried to find it because I wanted to clip it in here, and honestly,
Uh-huh.
every time I was like, have you edited it out? Because I was trying, I couldn't get through the episodes to listen to it.
Yeah,
I
you know,
couldn't make myself listen to those episodes again to
yeah,
find the clip because the
because it's
moment
three
their
hours.
voices started, I was like, nah, fuck this shit.
Yeah, it's 3 hours you've got to sit through, and just like it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. And
Also, for those who are watching the video and not just listening to us, that was my dog Eddie. Um,
yeah,
he's very loving, but he doesn't know what the fucking down means.
yeah,
But yeah, yeah. I mean, the bus ride from hell. It was hilarious. It was dark, but it was definitely a turning point for the show involved. Because from there
hmm
we moved on to like pretty much. I would say it was another month, maybe less, where we just went goodbye,
yeah,
and we were getting ready to you were getting ready to sack him.
yes,
And you, I remember one of the things that pissed you off most, and you didn't actually mention it during the shoot either, was that you were going to sack him and he left.
yeah,
That was generally one of the things that pissed you off most was you were going to sack him and he just like, nah, goodbye. You
yeah,
like bastard. But yeah, and then I mean, from there, we did our thing and we started to tweak the show into. Eventually, it becomes what it is now of us just talking about a subject and a topic or fantasy booking something and enjoying ourselves and having a good time just talking wrestling with the two best friends that we are.
yeah,
And I just realised I can't have a shot there. There we go. And but I would say it was halfway through season 2. The pair of us got burnt out.
yeah,
We were doing, we were trying to do monthly shows. At one point, we were doing fortnightly shows. We were trying to find something that was like how can we make this so it's enjoyable? How can we make this fun? And then the best decision I think we made was, you know what? Let's just leave it for a little while.
yeah,
Let's leave it for a little while and let's come back. I mean, the format changed from jingles to just talking. We try to bring like a sort of like for those who are into the American sports, pardon the interruption sort of feel to it, where we had a topic and a rundown and we talked about them for a certain amount of time. we try to do, were we going to go visual? Were we going to go audio only? Were we going to do and eventually it came to a point where we did a couple of episodes what we tried to class as season 3 and 4, and it just never hit off the ground. Yeah, I moved out into my own place, so that was a bit difficult with like getting things done, and we both had full-time jobs, and I mean full-time 12-hour shifts a day, like, for 4 days a week at least. Jobs. So when we did have a bit of time to jump on a call and to chat, we just did a show, but like that we do now, but we did it without a recording because we were just catching up.
Yeah.
We were chilling. So that was one of those things that was kind of like, for me, the burnout came like when we were trying to do so much.
Yes.
For yourself, was it the same?
It is. Yeah, it was. It was just trying to do so much that, because I think at one point we started focusing on how to make it we're trying to make it successful rather than what makes it fun, and that was the issue.
Yeah.
We were so focused on how do we make this fun and how do we make this successful? How do we, beat the algorithm, and all that stuff? Because you gotta remember, this show originally started off with a very set thing of we're doing.
I apologise for the noise on my end. The dogs have decided to run up the fucking stairs, and in a moment, I'm going to have to make a really loud noise, and they're going to fucking shit themselves.
Yeah. So, like, we were in a very formulaic place, And...
Hold on, sorry, boss. Continue what you were doing.
Yeah, I'll continue. So we were desperately just trying to focus on how do we make this mainstream? How do we make this? How do we make this work? On a how do we make this work? So it's commercially viable, and that is not. That is not how you want to do it. You don't want to be in this conversation of how do you make this commercially viable when you're trying to do something fun, when you're trying to do something that is, just all about having a good time and whatever. Like, it doesn't. Like, how are you supposed to enjoy that? How are you supposed to enjoy that? How are you supposed to enjoy a process where all you're doing is trying to figure out how to make something, it it doesn't work.
So close, pack it in. Alice?
Yeah, it just doesn't work, because in order for it to work, in order for it to be, of our podcast to be viable, it has to be fun and enjoyable, because if the people recording the podcast, aren't having fun, if the people recording the podcast are not having fun, are instead just being formulaic, trying to hit targets, it's not going to work.
Yeah, make it sure.
Yeah. And I was just looking up, by the way, the episode in question of when we did our, shoot.
Yeah.
It was Total Knockout Season 2, Episode 12.
Oh, so we actually got quite far, like a lot longer afterwards. I thought it was really quickly after that episode.
No. We actually got away. But here's why you think that. Because, for example, so Season 2, Episode 5, in the description. Uploaded on time. Yes, we can barely believe it ourselves. Hashtag Total Mark is here to give you the lowdown this week's WWE Wrestling. For the second week in a row, Eric Von Jisby, Mr. Hashtag, is AWOL, so Geekly Season Statement 3 tackle this week's events as a tag team, discussing the Paul Bearer tribute show and some of the week's wrestling rumors and news. The actual... Yeah, so Season 2, Episode 12, the description is this week we start with a serious note as we address rumours and allegations made by former Total Market member Irfan Jismi. Mr. Jismi has stated that during his time on the show, that Geek King and CJ33 have ganged up on him as if Mr. Jismi bullied him during his time on the show. Furthermore, Mr. Jismi stated via Twitter that he was leaving the show because he didn't have the time to do the show. However, last week he revealed, again on Twitter, that he was beginning the process of recording not one, but 3 shows for YouTube. In short, Mr. Jismi lied to our fans and to us. Whilst we try to remain somewhat professional on the show, whilst having fun and enjoying an open, honest dialogue, we cannot help but feel genuinely hurt by the comments and actions of Irfan Jismi. On a personal level, Geek King and CJ73 never wanted Jismi to leave the show on a number of occasions. They attempted to speak to Mr. Jismi about his feelings and the morale of the show. On one heated episode of the show, Mr. Jismi asked if he should just leave, and CJ said, "No, don't worry about it. At no point did we ever state or imply that we wanted Irfan Jismi to not be part of the show." The show will continue as normal, however the first 18 minutes of this episode are dedicated to a rant shared by Geek and Steve where they address the situation. If you wish to avoid this rant, simply go to the 19-minute mark.
I apologise for those who are watching and just saw the outro screen. I didn't mean to do that.
It's like, no, wait, come back. I'll shut up soon. But yeah, we took that seriously. We took it seriously because we were hurt. Yeah. So you can imagine, like, we pushed on, like, season 2, to kind of put an exclamation on that. So season 2 went all the way up to, I've just got it here, episode 25.
Yeah.
And then we took, episode 26. And there was a big gap between the end of that and episode 1 of season 3. Let's see, 22nd of September. Yeah, well, it went from September to February.
Yeah, we took a few months off.
Yeah. And season 3 lasted all of 9 episodes.
Yes.
So we tried coming back and without even naming seasons or whatever, just tried to do whatever. And it just wasn't hitting it. No matter what we did, we tried doing visuals, we tried doing, it just wasn't clicking.
This wasn't fun, so we decided to give it a break, and then it was a couple when we started on the MIA and we started doing this format where we're like, why don't we try Total Markout, but let's just talk about whatever we want to talk about. And then we had a few ideas for like themed shows. Boss and me love nothing more than fantasy booking. So we did some fantasy booking. We've got more of them to come. We've got more things to come. The future for Total Markout looks fun. It looks good, and it will be strong.
I think one of the best things was creating the MIA channel.
Thank you.
I think that was one of the best moves because it just separates us from, like, the TWA channel will remain there, like, for the archives. Yes. Like, that's what it's for. Because yes, I could go through and download all the stuff and stuff like that and re-upload, but I don't see the point. Yeah. You know, we have a fresh start in MIA. And here's the thing, it's important to know, the last thing I'll say about the Jism situation, he's not the only reason. You know? Like, at the end of the day, TMO in its original incarnation ran its course. Yeah. You know, the Jisby thing didn't help, but he's not the sole reason, you know, and that's never what we were saying.
No, and that was never what I'd want to get across either. We just decided that, like, we were burnt out. Like I said, we were doing these, if not fortnightly, weekly. Sometimes we'd try and get a couple of recordings in at the same time, which made recap really fucking difficult.
Yes.
You know, we did monthly ones, and then, like I said, we got burnt out, and it happens.
Yeah.
Some of your favorite podcasters will be burnt out. Some of your favorite YouTubers will be burnt out, which is why they stack a bunch of episodes recording-wise together, and then you can just take a little breather and get back to it. Which is, you know, something we had to learn. And when you're doing a recap, it's difficult to do that because you're recapping what happened literally that week. So we decided to drop a few things. Now, I want to do a bit of a fun before I have to go and tell the fucking dogs off again. Back in the day, we had our Tumblr. Our TotalMarkout.com was a Tumblr site, and we had the Marks. Yes. We had the Marks favorites.
We had the Marks favorites.
We're gonna have a bit of fun here, and
all right.
I'm gonna ask Boss for his what he thinks his answer was in 2012.
Oh.
And what it would be today.
Okay, and should I give them both at the same time? Like, I think it was this. I would say that. Okay, cool. Just for the record, I haven't got Tumblr
Yes.
open. I was going to open it because I thought, oh, we'll look at it. But now that's a quiz thing, it's like, nope. So I've closed it all. So no cheating.
The first one, favorite
Yeah.
current male wrestler.
So this is 2012.
2012, yeah.
Fuck. When did Shawn Michaels retire?
09.
Right. So obviously not him.
Yeah.
William Regal wasn't really wrestling still at that stage. Fuck, 2012.
So 2012 WrestleMania 28. It was that was headlined by Rock and Cena once in a lifetime. It really was once in a lifetime.
Okay. I think I would have said CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
My answer now as to who's my favorite wrestler would be Becky Lynch. But is it male wrestler specific?
Wrestler, yeah, male wrestler.
Male specific, it would be
It's always difficult because you just answer for like gender neutral now. It's just Becky.
yeah, but specifically male. And I'm trying to think of because I'm trying to be also who really is my favorite. And surprising a lot of people, it's probably Xavier Woods.
I get that. You're a big Woods guy. I get that.
I am a Woods guy.
Yeah.
So what did I say then?
So you said CM Punk then.
Yeah.
And I said CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler because this is before me and Punk had a little spat.
Yes.
Before he took his ball and went home.
Yeah.
And today, I would say it's probably Malachi Black.
Yes.
And if I was going to be a really, edgy YouTuber guy and give a really out-of-box idea, Hook. Because I fucking love Hook. Like, genuinely, Hook is awesome.
Fair play.
Send Hook.
Send Hook.
Favorite all time. Now we obviously know mine was The Undertaker back then. What would you have said back then?
Right. I imagine I would have said Mick Foley.
Ding 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 ding.
I would still say Mick Foley.
Yeah, and I would still say The Undertaker.
Yeah.
Favorite woman wrestler.
Now this is a difficult one.
Current at the time.
Yeah. Now, because again, we're talking 2012, so we're talking the era of AJ Lee and Paige and stuff like that.
A little before Paige, but yeah.
A little before Paige. I probably would have said AJ Lee, and now I would obviously. What?
I was just telling Eddie off. Sorry.
Oh right. So
I would have said things that he shouldn't do with his brother.
Yeah. All right. I would probably would have said AJ Lee, and now I would say Becky Lynch.
Yeah. I said AJ Lee. And now would say, well, quite simply, D.
Yeah.
And you said Caitlyn.
Of course. Oh yeah, Caitlyn was.
Who had and AJ had a great little feud at that time as well.
Yeah.
All-time favorite woman.
Sorry. All-time favorite woman. Yeah. Now. Possibly Stacy Keibler. Now I would say Becky Lynch.
It was Stacy Keibler.
Yeah.
Mine was Trish.
Yes.
And it would still be Trish.
Fair enough.
Because I love me some Stratisfaction.
Of course.
And of course, as everyone knows, the Kai's Brew has a thing for blonde Canadians.
Yeah. And basically, if you were to ask, do you prefer Trish of then or Trish of now, I imagine you'd say put your hands together.
I would just say yes. Favorite current tag team? This is fucking hilarious, this one. Bearing in mind it's 2012 and tag team wasn't really a thing.
Fucking hell. I imagine it was a WWE tag team.
It was. There wasn't really much else you watched at the time, boss, with all respect.
2012? Who the fuck was tagging in 2012?
They were a good tag team, but they are forgotten about now, so I would say that much.
This is what I'm going to get entirely wrong.
Yeah, wrong likely.
So I'm trying to think of the era, like, 'cause I'm thinking like, The Rock and Cena, like CM
Yeah.
Punk's involved.
That was CM Punk Jericho at that WrestleMania. The worst is the end of the world is coming, or the worst is yet to come. Whatever he fucking said when he did those promos.
Yeah, it's the end of the world as you know it,
Yeah.
because worse is yet to come with Shawn Michaels.
Ryder was doing the whole thing with Cena, Kane, and Eve. That's just trying to throw out some timely promos and shit.
It's probably entirely wrong, but was it Tyson Kidd and Cesaro?
You're a bit early. You are a bit early on that one.
Oh, all right.
It is another tag team though that it was, in my opinion, was a really good tag team. It was just it's forgotten about now because both of them have gone on to do different things.
All right.
It was Cody Rhodes and Damien Sandow, the Rhodes
All right.
Scholars.
Rhodes Scholars, all right. If I was going to say, what's my favorite tag team now?
Current favorite tag team now?
Probably the New Day.
Still the New Day.
Okay. Yes.
Fair play. Mine was Bad Influence, which we now know as SCU or Kazarian and Daniels.
Yeah, the world's greatest tag team of the world.
The world tag team champions of the world.
Yeah.
Now it would. I mean, I'd love to try and give like it's the Lucha Brothers, or it's fucking try and go right off the wall and say it's fucking the OGK, or it's something something along those lines. It's not. It's FTR, Forever the Revival.
Yeah, Forever the Revival.
They're my number one tag team in the world. I can't wait until they beat the fuck out of the Briscoe brothers. It's as simple as that. Because I have no room in my life for bigots. All-time favorite tag team. This is gonna be fucking fun.
Okay. All-time favorite tag team. Now, I have a suspicion. Is it WWE?
It's WWE.
Oh shit! There goes my suspicion.
It's
all-time favorite.
I'll give you a clue, boss. It's very much a WWE product. One second, guys. Just gonna mute you.
I am absolutely fucking stumped here. If I was going to say what is my favorite all-time tag team now, it would be the New Day. Right. Close second with Beer Money.
Very good team.
Yeah, but
I'll give you a clue. You are so far off on them ones.
Jesus Christ.
I tell you this. If you remember when we filled this out, right? It's you vaguely. Yeah. I remember turning to you going, "What?" I'll let you have a guess, and if you don't get on this next one, I'll just tell you.
I've got a feeling that it's two people that were thrown together.
Kinda.
Like they weren't an established tag team at the time. It was more like suddenly these two are tagging together.
Kinda. I mean, Jason's answer to this was The Undertaker and Stone Cold.
Yeah. I don't think it was like that, like kind of like two main eventers put together, but just more like here are two people and we're going to put them together and see how they work as a tag. But they weren't like main event caliber talent.
Yeah, you're right on that one.
Yeah. Like, and the fact that you said, that makes me think William Regal wasn't one of them.
It wasn't Regal.
So who the fuck would
it wasn't Tajiri.
Yeah, so who the fuck would I have said of all time? Like, this is before I was medicated. This is going to be so obscure, isn't it?
You ready?
I got a second.
Dun, 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 boom.
Were they on Raw or SmackDown?
Raw. And only exclusively on Raw.
No, Booker T. Goldust.
No. It's on the same vein, to be fair.
What?
Stand back! There's a hurricane coming through.
Hurricane and Kane?
No, Hurricane and Rosie. You said in 2012 your favorite tag team of all time was the Super Friends.
Fucking Stacy.
Yep.
Fucking Stacy. Super Stacy, I should point out, not Stacy Keebler.
Yeah. Mine then and now is the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom.
I'm so embarrassed. Fucking the Super Friends.
Yes.
How was I not kicked off the show at that moment?
I didn't have the power.
Ironic.
Favorite manager of all time?
Ooh, manager of all time.
Yes.
I imagine I would have said Paul Heyman. I maintain that it's Paul Heyman.
Yes, you did. You did say Paul Heyman, and mine is also the same. The Brain. Then and
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Finisher of all time?
I would have said Sweet Chin Music.
And would you stick with that?
You know what? I would, because it was one of the first memorable out of nowhere finishes, and my favorite of all time is nearly get on Kurt Angle at WrestleMania.
Yes.
You know, Kurt Angle lifts him up by his ears, saying, "You're not as good as me," and then just the quick push and a pow. I was just like, "Oh my god, that is the greatest Sweet Chin Music I've ever seen," and it's the one that everyone's tried to emulate.
Yes.
Everyone's trying to emulate the super kick party, and everyone does a fucking super kick now. Yes, I'm pissed off by it. And some people say, but it's a kick. No, it's not a correct thing. It's just a wrestle thing.
That's the old graps thing.
Yeah.
Back then I said the Tombstone Power Driver. I mean, I feel like it is still. There are some finishes I love at the moment, but I don't think anything beats the Tombstone for me. I love the Buckshot Lariat from Hangman. I love the Made in Japan by Shingo over in New Japan. The Rainmaker, when he hits that perfectly, looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Destino by Naito looks amazing as well. The RKO was fucking amazing. Yeah. But there's something about the Tombstone that's still my favorite of all time.
You know what I realized yesterday, just before I ended up finally getting to sleep after you visited?
Yeah.
I've been pronouncing Okada's name wrong for
Kashida?
Is a Kazuchika.
Yeah, Kazuchika. I can't say it.
I've been saying Kazuchika.
Yeah, you've heard me.
Because I'm a filthy Brit.
You've heard how often the mystery producer has to send an editing note on how to pronounce Naito, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. No one ever corrected me. You know, anytime I said Kazuchika,
why am I going to correct you?
Because and it only happened because I was watching a video and there was this person doing his own season mode. He goes Kazuchika Okada. I was like, wait. I'm like, son of a bitch. So yeah, Kazuchika.
Sorry.
Anyhow,
we kind of mentioned this beforehand. Favorite title design. We've done a whole episode on titles.
Right. Now, was it current?
No, of all time, that one.
Right. I probably then would have said the Big Gold or the Attitude Era belt. I'm going to go with Attitude Era Championship, the one that I've got a facsimile of somewhere. And now it would be. It's always a tie between these two, but at the moment it's the NWA's World Heavyweight Championship.
Makes sense. And you did say the Big Eagle. You did say the Attitude Era Big Eagle. I did as well, and I've now changed my mind to the one that came before that, the Winged Eagle. I just love that belt.
We've actually done a belt special.
We did, and if I can remember the edit point, it'll be somewhere above you. If not, look at the fucking playlist.
Yeah, it's there.
It's as Uncle Conrad says, it's in the archives.
Yeah.
And finally, for favorites. Favorite wrestling story time of all time.
Wrestling storyline.
Storyline of all time, you would not.
I imagine I would have said Invasion because it's what brought me to the dance.
You did.
If I had to say what was my favorite storyline of all time now, the thing which always comes to mind for
Once again, we've
me,
also done an episode on this.
we have, and I've already forgotten it.
Well, yeah,
So
because it didn't happen like 8 years ago, so you'd have no memory.
pretty much, yeah. I think now it would be
Don't stop running around, mate. So you just lie down like the other two. Sorry, did I talk
you
to them?
know.
Did I? Sorry. The dogs are all just getting jealous of.
I think favorite storyline now, it's probably I really loved God, there's so many good ones to choose from. Fuck.
I think, if I remember the episode correctly, once again I have shocking memory just like
Yeah.
you. I think the one I remember you mentioning and getting as passionate about was the Yes movement.
Yeah, the Yes move was a big one. There's two that are in my head though. The first one is Mick Foley and Randy Orton, because that was a side of Mick Foley that was just like
Unleashed.
all you done goofed. And the other one is the Becky Lynch story of Up to the Mania, because that led to
that might have been the number one because you just like to piss
Yeah.
the internet off by putting Becky as number one in everything.
I put Becky on Mount Rushmore and I couldn't give a shit.
Lucky enough, no one watched the episode, so we haven't heard anything back. But yeah, I mean, mine was Austin McMahon. It's still Austin McMahon.
Yeah.
To me,
Great story.
any authority storyline versus one guy is emulating that storyline.
Yeah. And I think the reason why those stories don't end up in my number ones is because I'm very whilst I enjoy the way back when machines and stuff like that, I think
you
it's
have a connection when you watch them.
Yeah.
At the time, you have a connection to it.
Yeah, it's like the things that resonate with me now, because you could ask me 10 years from now, what's your favorite storyline? It's like, oh, do you remember when, would you remember when, Barbara Austin went toe to toe with, Michael Flanagan? It's like, what, wrestlers who aren't even born yet,
Yes. It makes perfect sense. I mean, I literally, and it wasn't a Monday night, I went to a Friday night. And because there was no real access to the internet in my world, I didn't have spoilers, so I could wait to a Friday night. And at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, Nitro would start on TNT on Sky.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't become TNT until Bravo finished. And even
Yes,
before
that's
that,
correct.
it didn't become TNT or Bravo until the Cartoon Network finished.
Yeah.
So I would watch the first hour of that. I'd run into the other room. I'd press record, and we'd flip it over to Raw. Because at 10 o'clock, Raw started. I was allowed to watch all of Raw as long as I was a good lad.
So how did you ever go to watch Raw?
My dad didn't give a shit.
That explains it.
If I was a really good lad, I was allowed a beer. Eventually as well, my dad didn't give a shit about that either. It was just, okay, so get yourself one. And I'd watch that. So I legitimately lived through that era of time of, I can't wait to see what Stone Cold Steve Austin's going to do this week to Vince. Or, oh my god, I remember what Vince, I had a whole weekend to talk with my friends and to play football, and as we're doing it, we're talking about Austin and McMahon, and how could Vince do this? Then the whole week at school, you'd talk about how Vince is going to get his comeuppance, Stone Cold's going to do this, or, The Undertaker's going to do this. Can you believe the NWO spray painted someone else? We do all of this, and then we get to Friday, we watch it, and I'd be like, oh my god, he just ruined a car. I don't know what a Corvette is, but it sounds expensive. Or me dad kicking off because he wasted all the beer, and then turn around going, to be fair, those sunwolves, that's probably water. Because I was like, don't ruin this. Me dad, up until the time I was 13, would watch wrestling with me.
Mm-hmm.
I distinctly remember he'd turn around, he'd watch the opening pyro, the ring would come on, and he'd look and go, Kane's not there tonight, son. And I'd go, what?
Nah.
And he'd go, Kane's not there. And I'd go, how do you know Kane's not there? And he'd go, there's no pyro in the corner. What? Like, I was like, how can you tell that? He's like, there's nothing strapped on the fucking corners. And I'm like, what? And then he would somehow, I don't know how he did this. He must have had access to the internet at work or something, which is weird because he worked in a garage in the army. And he took me to tell me how the show was going to end. And he'd get it right 9 times out of 10. Not maybe the actual storyline, but he'd tell me the match that would fucking end the show, and he'd tell me how the match was going to fucking end. And he'd spoil it within 10 minutes of the show starting. And I would sit there and go, how does he know this? He's a fucking magician. But yeah, I lived through that Attitude Era as like fucking 8, 9. You know, I was that person that wasn't supposed to watch the Attitude Era, but you know, then people's parents would complain because you let my son watch wrestling. Well, yeah, he was in my house.
Yeah.
You know? Alright, we got a little bit we're going to quickly go on to from here. And it's the Slammies. We did our own Slammies, as you remember.
Yes.
I want to know, boss, can you guess if I was to say the award and the year? We did them for 2 years. Who won them? Now, it'll be a little bit difficult, but some of them might come to mind. One of them is a fucking baffling conclusion, but I believe it was when you were doing one of your weird fucking Excel tournaments. Who was the Superstar of the Year in 2012?
CM Punk.
Nope. He was in 2013. Here's the thing, boss. You will not get this because there is no reason this man won Superstar of the Year in 2012.
What was it, like Kane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you did some sort of tournament.
Yes. All right. Okay. Yeah, it was an online thing though, because because we did it via Twitter.
I think so.
Yeah, and somehow Kane won it. So it's like, it is why, by the way, I am against a certain type of like voting system. Like, I hate when it's like, oh, who's the best champions, and that like when you try to rank champions, I hate it when people say, so we're going to do it tournament style, so we're going to put these two, because then it inevitably always fails, because that's how Kane won that one. And I respect you for your wrestling business, but that was bullshit. Tournament styles do not work when trying to vote your favorite for something. It just doesn't work, because you'll be like, it just doesn't.
No,
Mathematically, it doesn't work.
You're right.
You should use a rank. You should use a rank generator for all that shit.
You should, boss. We had a Pwnage of the Year award. Now, the Pwnage of the Year award was the award where someone pwned someone else, because once again we started this in 2012.
Yeah. See, 2013, I'd imagine, was your Rob's Too Short a Box with God.
Ding, ding, ding.
So 2012, though.
It was a back-to-back winner.
What, it could have been your Rob's Too Short a Box with God.
No, but the person
But CM Punk won it.
Yes. And considering what 2012 had for Punk, there's a lot of fucking moments.
Would it have been along the lines of the company be better when Vince McMahon is dead?
It's very similar. I'm not going to give you it, but I will tell you that it was CM Punk and Vince McMahon, and it was, you will apologize.
You will like it.
Yep. Back in day, for reasons I'm not going to get into, we had a Bong the Hall award. Which we changed. We changed to the Damn Diva Award.
Basically hottest woman.
Yeah,
that was it. You know, there's no sense in hiding from it. Yeah, we did a hottest woman award at the time. We wouldn't do it now because, you know, we're more mature. But back then, why the fuck not? You know, it was.
If you want to know who the hottest woman in wrestling is, you're just gonna ask me. I'll tell you. 2012.
So, AJ Lee.
No, that was 2013.
Okay, so 2012.
Her name has come up before.
I hope it's Caitlin.
It is.
Yeah.
The oh fuck you biggest moment that made you say fuck you to wrestling.
Oh.
Now we were outvoted in the 2012 one, at least I was.
See, with this one, it's like it feels like someone not winning a title or someone losing a title or something like that.
It was. That first one was, yeah.
What's someone not winning a title?
No, someone losing the title.
Someone losing a title.
And
Was
technically
it?
someone winning a title. That's how
Was
titles
it?
work.
Was it? Alberto Del Rio winning the world title.
No, but it's very similar. It was a cash-in. It was
Oh,
Daniel
is it the Kevin
Bryan.
Nash?
Daniel
Oh, Daniel
Bryan
Bryan, SummerSlam.
cashing in on Big Show at
Oh!
Vengeance. Sorry, TLC.
Oh! Fuck yeah! Because
In-
Big Show finally got the world title, and
in
then
48 seconds.
shit.
And you and Jizby both outvoted me and said
Yes.
that was the biggest fuck you of the moment.
What was yours?
I believe in that one. I was like, I don't give a shit about that. I can't even remember. I've got the nominees somewhere, but it wasn't that one. I know that much.
Yeah.
And in 2013, it was John Cena wins the Royal Rumble, makes it twice in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Because we'd all been living this. Well, it's once in a lifetime, a whole year of build up, and then it was, guess what? It's twice in a lifetime. You're like, fuck off.
Yeah.
The barrier of the year, superstars that we perceived to be burying people for no reason other than they just kept winning for no goddamn reason.
Well, I imagine John Cena was on that list.
No, actually, one of them's a TNA guy. Yeah.
What, current TNA or just was it TNA at the time?
No, current NWA.
Nick Aldis? Surely
Nope.
not. Hang on, let me think. TNA. So he would have been TNA at the time and NWA now.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of them, to be fair, that now work for NWA. I was straight up going to give you the 2012 one. It was Crimson.
I must have been outvoted on that.
I wasn't voted on that at all. I think we give that one to the public again, and like just reused as
bullshit.
Yeah, and in 2013 it was the Shield.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
The You Suck, the most hated superstar of the year.
I mean, John Cena.
One was due to his personal problems and, as you put it, Twitter shenanigans, rather than his actual wrestling ability. And the other one was due to his actual wrestling work.
So John Cena probably was a nominee but didn't win.
Yes. Because me and you both said, well, we don't actually hate John Cena. Like,
yeah. Seth Rollins wasn't really tweeting at the time.
And Seth Rollins was a member of the Shield at the time. There's no chance he was getting that.
Yeah. Who was? Oh God, who was a Twitter?
I'll give you that. He's now cleaned his life up and is living a better life. Right, I'll throw this out for you, okay? I'm just going to say these ones. So Randy Orton won it for 2013 due to his actual heel work.
Yeah.
If you remember, that was when Randy Orton became the sort of face of the authority.
Oh, yeah. Very meritorious as well.
And in 2012, due to his Twitter shenanigans rather than actual wrestling work, was Kurt Angle.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that he was bitching about Randy Orton doing the RKO and shit like that?
All sorts.
Oh yeah, it's like fuck's it. Yeah, that was when
fucking drunk off in that time.
That's when people refer. When people refer to it as Perk Angle because of Percocet, which moving on from that.
Yeah.
Moving on from
the
that.
Seller of the Year.
If Dolph Ziggler doesn't win twice,
he did. Dolph Ziggler for the monkey flip at WrestleMania 28 from Zack Ryder.
Woo! Yeah.
And the GTS from the episode of SmackDown, where it legitimately looked like he'd been shot.
Yeah, I still have that GIF.
Yeah, I mean, the nominations, I looked at them all. Pretty much all of them with Dolph Ziggler. There was one on the first one, which was the Ashing Slam Cell from Jisby, because he demanded that it was a nominee.
Yeah.
And then I think there was another one was like, I think the one that I really wanted got voted out, and like voted out, and that was because I wanted the Dolph Ziggler, Brodus Clay headbutt the night after WrestleMania. And
Yes.
you're like, nah, it's good, but this was just better. I was like, oh, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. We're just like, oh, but we have to fuck it up.
The botch of the year.
Oh.
Both of these are technically matches.
Okay. Are they both WWE?
Yes. Yeah. So the first one.
Yeah.
Was the Sin Cara in the Survivor Series match of 2011. Just that. That was because if you remember, he got in the ring and within 5 seconds he was like injured, like something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And the second one was the entire SmackDown Money in the Bank match from Money in the Bank 2012, which featured Christian, Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow, Dolph Ziggler, Santino Marella, Sin Cara, Tensai, and Tyson Kidd. Yeah,
that was well deserved.
I remember watching that and just watching Tyson, like Albert Tensai, just kill a motherfucker 3 or 4 times in that match. It was great.
Yeah, it's just like, well, this is death.
The winner, because why did you do that moment of the year?
Yeah.
We I got your comments on a couple of these. It's on one of them. It's fucking hilarious.
Okay.
One of them is a change to a Survivor Series. I wonder if you
okay. By any chance, was that when they changed the whole Mick Foley Dolph Ziggler into something else entirely?
So it was supposed to be Team Foley versus Team Punk, and they changed it to Team Foley versus Team Ziggler.
Yeah.
That was what the winner in 2013. 2012 was the Divas WrestleMania match in 28 with Marina Menounos. Boss's comment was, and I quote, roll back for you guys. Oh God, this match. This fucking match. This abortion of a fucking match. This horrid abortion of a fucking match. So you weren't a fan?
I said what I said.
I know the fact she got booed at Royal Rumble where all she was doing was announcing. Like, the poor lass is a genuine fan who's friends with them, can't catch a fucking break because they're like, nah, boo, fuck you, where's Lillian? And she's like, I get it, guys, I get it. Like, she even says that on the mic.
I mean, in fairness, where is Lillian?
Mamacita. The worst match of the year. Oh, I have comments on one of these as well for you.
Just reveal them. I'll not guess them, and I'll take them too much time.
Kane versus John Cena in an ambulance match at the Elimination Chamber 2012. Santino Marella versus Ricardo Rodriguez in a tuxedo match at No Way Out 2013. You forgot about that match because you blocked it from your mind. Boss's comments on the ambulance match. And I quote, this unforgivably horrid abortion of a fucking match. You love that? You've used that twice in one awards.
I know, I really need to change it up.
Years ago, we had Shane McMahon versus Kane in the only other ambulance match in WWE history. In half the time, they put on a great match. But this match, this fucking match.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, and to think, that wasn't even the worst ambulance match John Cena had.
No, it wasn't.
Fucking Ryback.
No.
Best match of the year. In 2012, we had the end of an era Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
Undertaker versus Triple H featuring Shawn Michaels, a special referee, which, yes, did give me a heart attack for just a split second.
Yeah.
Literally.
That's it, the kick, right?
Until that fucking kick out happened, it was fucking Elizabeth. And in 2013, the winner was also The Undertaker, but he faced CM Punk at WrestleMania 29.
Yes. It was a good match.
It was. Title change of the year.
What was that, sorry?
Title change of the year.
Would one of them been Dolph Ziggler winning the world title?
Actually, no. Because it happened in the same voting period of another significant one.
All right.
And I'm going to read it like this. And I quote. The place is Chicago, Illinois. The pay-per-view is Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
The WWE Champion is John Cena. CM Punk had turned the WWE upside down with his pipe bombs, and he'd already promised that when his contract expired at the end of the pay-per-view, he would be leaving with the WWE Championship. After a moment of drama outside the ring, John Cena was distracted enough for CM Punk to nail the GTS and get a free count to become the new WWE Champion. After a fair attempt by Alberto Del Rio to cash in his own Money in the Bank contract, which he would do later at SummerSlam, CM Punk blew a kiss to Vince McMahon and left with the WWE Championship. Somewhat more anticlimactic was our 2013 winner. Big Show defeated Sheamus for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. It's like...
I like the fact because I looked at the 2012 ones and Boss wrote some comments on this and I was like, why is there nothing on the 2013 ones? I was like, Boss just like, fuck it, it's on there.
It's on there. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I would love to do awards again.
Well, we're gonna do that at the end of the year. We've announced. Well, we haven't announced, but we've said. I just announced it there.
That was my segue for you to say, because we've already discussed that we were going to do awards, and I was trying to give you a thing there because I was being smooth. Apparently, too fucking smooth.
and finally, or maybe I was just being nonchalant. Well, fuck you. Finally, our total markout moment of the year. We have mentioned the one beforehand in 2012. It was Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and Triple H, the embrace on the stage.
Yes.
At WrestleMania 28. And in 2013 seems like a fucking obvious answer at this point. It's probably everyone's answer for the voting period of 2012 to 2013 was the debut of the Shield at Survivor Series.
Yeah. And look at the impact that's had in the business.
Exactly. And we also did some Hall of Legends. I'll quickly go.
The Hall of Legends.
Which we also will be bringing back our end of the year awards, which will happen in December now, rather than in April, because we're not going to be doing one in April. We'll be doing it in March though. I'm back for the fantasy booking in March, and also check out the channel. But yeah, in 2012 we actually put. Here's the funny thing: all of these are now Hall of Famers, but they very much weren't at the time.
Yes.
2012, our class was Bruno Sammartino because everyone in the WWE everyone in Total Markout got a vote, and in the third year we asked the mascot Funk to put his input in. So in 2012 we had Bruno Sammartino, Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat, and Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
In 2013, we had the Macho Man, Randy Savage, Vince McMahon Sr., and Diamond Dallas Page.
Oh, Diamond Dallas Page, yes.
And that was our whole list. That was our awards. And I mean, honestly, it's a lot of fun for us because we can, on this episode, we got to look back and have a good chat. And, we talk about our origins and stuff like that, which always is nice and it's fun. What I will say as well is that, as I mentioned it a couple of times, we are going to continue. And we're going to be more regular. We're hoping to give you six episodes this year of Total Markout. Every other month. So just like a lot of my friends, a lot of the people in general, and a lot of some people that we know in personally, the show's coming out as bi. So bi-monthly rather than bisexual, but it's still, look at the colour. We're changing, guys. We're changing. It's a new day. It's a new generation. It's a new day. Yes, it is. And but yeah, we're gonna be coming out every other month for you guys. Next one is fantasy booking, and we will be doing. I believe it is the Impact era. It will be now because I'm about to announce it. So it'll be the Impact era of TNA, which will be roughly 2004 to end of 2009. So pre-Hogan debuting, because to me that's the Impact era, not a completely different thing. For starters, there were 6 sides to the ring.
Yes.
And they will be facing something that's sadly no longer there. The black and gold of NXT, because we are NXT. But yeah, that's what we'll be doing fantasy booking. That will come in your way in March. So
Yes.
look out for that. Boss, I'm wrapping up here, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Is there anything for you want to say about the 10 years,
I
or you want to say about today's episode, or anything like that?
honestly just like there was a lot of great moments, and I think what is great now is we have we always said we want to do the show because it's fun,
Yes.
and for all we took a massive sabbatical,
Yeah.
we always ended up doing what we said we were going to do. We said we'll come back when we're ready, and now we're ready.
Yeah.
So I think it's great that on the 10th anniversary we could be like, right, let's do this. And I obviously, yeah, we've got other stuff that we do, like we do, he got Bicycle, which
I
is
got
our,
Basco with this
watch
arena.
along, yeah, our watch along show.
Yep, and
We're
which
doing
we are
our,
very special. I'll say it now because it's going to drop before any of the bicycle episodes will. For this year's bicycle, we will be doing a very special look at one particular year from two companies. We will be looking at the year of 1989, the year I was born, the year the boss turned 18 and was able to drink for the first time. And I'm sorry, boss, I've got to get the jokes in.
hassle.
Well, you know.
I know.
Chicken salad.
Yeah, you know.
And but yeah, we'll be looking at 1989 from the perspective of WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, for over 50 years.
The World Wrestling Federation for over 50 years of revolutionary sports enforced entertainment. And I just,
I see what you did there. You flipped it.
I flipped it by mistake. Yes, I apologize.
But at least it actually made sense when you flipped it. You didn't just like do what I do and stumble your way home. But yeah, and not again. And yeah, but also, so that will include the Royal Rumble, so that will include all the big four and the Saturday night main events. We will also be looking at the NWA, which has now become WCW Wrestling. World Championship Wrestling. Well, we're watching all of the pay-per-views they had to offer in 1989, as well as the Clash of Champions. Now, there should be an average of 2 episodes a month coming from Bicycle, because a lot of them are shorter episodes, so we can get through them.
Yes.
There are a few months, though, there are just one show that they put on, so that's what we're doing. For instance, August, there's only SummerSlam to watch.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah, and for those who have an interest just outside wrestling as well, we are also like doing Let's Play. Like for me, Let's Plays are very intermittent and as I feel like it. And obviously Pacific Geek's got plans as well. So we'll be peppering in the channel with some wonderful Let's Plays. At the moment, the Dawn of War series is uploaded to the channel and being released on a schedule. So there's 12 episodes in total. Episode 1 is, technically episode 0. The tutorial has already been released. That is me playing through Dawn of War, the Game of the Year edition, which was 2004, I think. So that's all done, uploaded, and just releasing on schedule. Geek has got stuff planned as well.
Yeah,
I'm
have
looking
a
to.
couple of Let's Plays coming forward in the world of actually wrestling games and other ones. But as well as that, on a Wednesday going forward, you'll get my WWE New Generation, Kaiser presents a New Generation Universe mode. And that'll be every Wednesday. It's started to drop already at the time of recording. So yeah.
I've installed the game. I'm hoping to do a Let's Play series of XCOM Enemy Within, followed by XCOM 2. I do plan on using mods. Yeah, no, just XCOM 2. There's actually Enemy Within and Enemy Unknown. But XCOM 2 is just XCOM 2. Yes, I do plan on using mods because I've completed the game about 10 times now without mods. I'm trying to have fun now, so I'm just trying to make it absurd and fun to watch. So look out for that as well.
So from a channel point of view, Men In Armchairs is very much going to be active this year. We have a schedule. For
It's alive!
So we are hoping to get to that. If there's any gaps, there's gaps. Fuck yes.
Yeah.
But as always...
Wait a minute. There's something we've forgotten. Fuck Dave Meltzer.
Yes, fuck Dave Meltzer. FTM. Always.
Yes.
But as I said, as always, when it comes to our stuff, like, comment, subscribe if you feel that means that, and you want to keep up to date with our stuff. We do appreciate it. And obviously, if you do subscribe, just make sure the bell's there so you get a little notification. I don't personally do it when I'm subscribing things, but it's the YouTube thing to say.
It's like YouTube law, you have to say it.
Exactly. So we appreciate that. We always appreciate that. We appreciate you sticking with us for 10 years if you have done that. So we always love. You can find myself at Geek Streams on Twitter at G33K STREMS EAMS. I don't know. It's underneath. I can't spell right now. You can find Boss, as always, at Steve Jones 313. That's STEVEJONES 313, and that is for good boy else. So basically, you can find him everywhere.
Yes.
Twitch, Tumblr, fucking whatever else. You can find me at Twitch at Geek King G33K King, and of course, you can find all our merchandise, all our lovely merchandise, which neither one of us is wearing right now, at geekking.redbubble.com. That's G33K King.redbubble.com. Now, my name has been the Geek King, the Cash Brew. That has been Steve Jones 313, Boss Caulfield, and for the 10-year anniversary, I am simply going to leave you with this. Thank you, and good night. Marks out. Eventually. Sorry, the transition's taking a while again.
Yeah.
It'll do it. It'll do it. Yeah. Peace. M-I-A